Our guests today are all podcasters. And so, of course, we're going to ask about starting podcasts. So I would like to ask our guests, why did you start your podcast and what did you want to achieve from it? Scott, welcome to the show. Tell us about why you wanted to start your podcast and what you wanted to achieve from it.
Thanks, Richard. I appreciate it. And thanks for bringing me on. So my show and my podcast, it's funny. When I first started it, it was not just to sell a product or a service. The goal was to build an audience and a community that would have some longevity. I think that we work so hard to build our companies as entrepreneurs, and we realize that we're putting all of ourselves into it. And I've seen the other side of entrepreneurship after you sell a company and then you have to start from scratch, or even in your career when you move from job to next job and you always feel like you're starting from scratch. I feel like building an audience is the hack to not start from scratch. And you start to build an audience and you build this flywheel, and over your career, you amass this great community of people that know you, love you, trust you, and that can be used to launch products. It can be used to get job offers. It can be used for a variety of different things. Just putting your name out there, putting yourself out there so that everything becomes a little bit easier.
Great. That's really great. So we have with us Stacy Sherman. Stacy, welcome to the show. Tell us about why you started your podcast and what you hope to get out of it.
I started it as a hobby while I was in corporate, and I was just sharing what I was doing in the job all around doing customer experience right. And then that turned into more than a hobby, a labor of love and a way to connect with people. I would never have met the people that had been on my show otherwise. And so it's a love. It's like a baby, and I've been growing it up.
That's great. Thank you for that. Simona Constantini, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Sure. Why did you start your podcast and what did you hope to get out of it?
So I have two podcasts. The first one, Happiness Happens, I started in 2018. And the intention behind that was actually a personal journal. And I was documenting all of the growth that I was experiencing through understanding things like fear, shame, guilt, happiness, joy, contentment. What does that all mean? And the purpose of it, and still continues today, to be to help one person feel less alone. And so through those conversations of happiness, that's what I aim to do on every single episode. And I get to interview thought leaders and really dig deep into what does happiness mean to them? And also, why do we feel like we don't have enough of it? And what do we do to get more of it? So it's kind of similar to Stacy in a little bit, a lot of labor of love. And it's definitely a passion project for me. And so that's the first one. The second one, as it relates to podcasting, is an industry show to help creators start, grow, launch, monetize their podcasts.
That is awesome. You know, you do get a chance to talk with people at a very deep level when you're on a podcast or on a radio show, and you get to share that, and other people get to experience those conversations. So it's really a very special experience. Elizabeth, tell us about why you started your podcast and what you hope to get out of it.
I will, Richard. So, Passage to Profit actually was not something we went out looking for. It was brought to us by Kenya Gibson.
I guess it kind of found us.
It found us. And I think the reason I wanted to start it was because it just seemed so exciting and so much fun. And what happened after we started it and started reaching out to people to be on the show was we just started meeting the most amazing people, and I started learning so much. And I love learning. And so when you do an interview style show and you get these amazing people on, you always learn something new. It doesn't matter how much you know. And so that's why we started it, just kind of for something new to do that seemed exciting. And boy, we love it now.
We do. Kenya Gibson, our co-host and media maven. Can you tell us about your podcast, why you started it, and what you hope to get out of it?
So my podcast is about motherhood and covering some of the maternal disparities that are happening in communities of color. And I think one of the reasons why I was always interested in podcasts in general is I think I'm innately an educator, right? And I like to teach people stuff. And we have a lot of data and statistics on why people listen to podcasts in the first place, and that is to learn, right? So it's kind of like going to find a really good book, right? You find what you like, you find a few chapters that speak to you. So I feel like that's what podcasting is, right? You creating this platform where people can kind of go pull from their favorite chapters and download really good information.
Yeah. Well, I think education is an important part of any podcast, and that's personally why I felt like Passage to Profit was such a great idea. It was actually Kenya and Elizabeth's idea.
Well, it was really Kenya.
Well, yes, but you get credit too. You guys were out drinking
Well, she sold it
champagne,
to me, and I
and
sold
then
it
he
to
came
you.
up with this, right? So this is how it all started. So she didn't come up with it alone, but I do love entrepreneurs. I love entrepreneurism, and entrepreneurism is such a positive, strong, potent force that it's really important for people to understand the power of entrepreneurism. And I think Passage to Profit really helps with that. It helps highlight entrepreneurs, the challenges, the successes, and that's why I love doing this. And what do I hope to get out of this? I don't know. At this point, I'm just happy to share the information and help other people. So that's my payoff.